Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of Life with Disabilities and Depression. I'm your host, Kelly Clark. Today, I'm going to hopefully teach you some of my personal techniques for coping with your disability and your depression. One thing I've learned is that when I'm feeling depressed or sad or down, I want to be left alone. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. Um, you know, I tend to shut myself out from people. Or I should say, I shut people out. I listen to a lot of music. I go for a lot of walks. That seems to, really help me clear my head. But sometimes that's not always easy because of the snow, and the snow makes it hard for my wheelchair to get around. You know, um, you know, and I feel bad for pushing my loved ones away, but I only do it to protect them because I'm afraid I might hurt them, by being negative and, you know, just that stuff. Um, the best advice I can offer anybody is that you that sometimes it's not as easy as snapping your fingers and changing your mood. And the one thing I hate is when people are constantly telling me to think positive. Well, it's not always easy. I know that. Um, you know, but the best thing I can say is when you're feeling depressed about your situation or you're feeling down, um, my best advice I can offer you is talk to somebody, tell somebody how you're feeling. Don't bottle it up and don't try to deal with it yourself because you're not going to get anywhere. Believe me, um, you're better off talking to somebody about it. Um, you know, and like, I understand that sometimes being in a wheelchair is tough, and believe me, it's tough for me as well. Um, and there are some days where you're gonna feel like you have no energy to deal with this situation, or you don't want to deal with this situation, but you're better off facing it head on. Um, you're better off facing it head on and not facing it alone, because if you face it alone, it's just going to eat you up inside. Believe me, it has done the same thing to me over and over and over again, and I refused to try and get help with it because I didn't think people would understand, and you know what? That is true partially. Some people are not going to be able to understand because they're not you. They're not in your shoes. Um, they're not disabled. They may think it's so easy because, oh, you can just flip a switch and be happy. No, it's not that simple. It's a process, and it takes time, and that's where people need to understand from a disabled person's perspective. Like, like it wasn't easy for me to deal with it, to cope. I turned to things to cope. I turned to marijuana. And I still use marijuana to this day. Although I'm not saying I'm condoning the use of marijuana, I'm just saying that that's one of the things that I personally used or use. Don't do drugs, kids. Drugs are bad. Once again, I am not condoning the use of drugs, any kind of drugs, even if it's just marijuana. I think one of the hardest days for me is when I wake up in the morning and it's early in the morning and I can't sleep and I'm exhausted and in pain, and there's some days where I look at my chair and I just decide to stay in bed because I'm in so much pain, and I'm honestly more comfortable in my bed. Um, you know, uh, you know, I wanted to achieve something in my life. I've been alive for 23 years now, and I'm doing absolutely nothing with my life. I'm trying to find a job. I'm trying to find a job. I'm trying to find something that gives me purpose, that gives me meaning, and I think I've found that with this podcast, and I feel like I can reach out to people with this. You know, I can. I'm hoping I can inspire people to try and erase the negative from their life. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It takes a lot of work. Believe me. But you you can do it if you set your mind to it. You just gotta be willing to try. Um, you know, life may knock you down, but you just gotta keep getting back up. No matter how many times life knocks you down, you just gotta try, keep trying, and keep trying, you know, and do that. Um, you know, if anybody wants to reach out to me, they can. They can contact me once again, like I said, through Twitter, Facebook, email, kellyclark1995 @gmail.com. You know, you can contact me if you need somebody to talk to, if you have nowhere to turn, if you feel like no one understands, if you feel like nobody knows what it's like to be in your shoes. I do. I understand. I've lived with a disability all my life. I know the ins and outs, the ups and downs, and I know the impact it can have on the mind and the body, and even the spirit. You know, I'm not gonna lie. There's been times where I've had that little voice in my head saying, "Give up, quit. You're not worth anything. You know, you can't do anything. You'll never amount to anything because you're disabled." That voice that you hear in your head is lying to you. You cannot listen to that voice. If you need help and you need somebody, or if you need motivation, I recommend you listen to this podcast. Um, I'm not making these podcasts just to help myself. I'm making it to help people in similar situations like myself. You know, I want to be the person that gives a voice to the disabled, that gives a voice that there is somebody that says, you can do this. You know, there's a lot of people that might tell you that you're not capable of doing something simply because you may be in a wheelchair or simply because you can't walk. Or simply because, you know, you can't walk, you can't, sorry about that, that was my phone, by the way. Simply because you can't walk or, you know, can't run. You know what? Don't let your disability control your life. I did for the longest time, and guess what? It was the biggest mistake I have ever made in my entire life. You know, if you feel like you're slipping away and you're struggling, reach out to somebody. There is somebody that will listen. You just have to be willing to say, look, I need help. Somebody please help me. Please. That's all you gotta do. And, you know, I hope this podcast will help you gain the confidence to help yourself, or even reach out to me to have me help you, I'll answer my email anytime. Um, you know, uh, but yeah, let me give you a piece of advice before you think about committing suicide or taking your own life. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. This shall pass, and you shall make it through, and I will help you through. Um, you know, anyway, I'm going to sign off and end it right there for now. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I shall see you later. Peace out, everyone. Stay safe and stay happy.